So this is the second episode of Gen Z Investing Insights. We haven't changed the name. I think I like the name, even though I said in the last episode that I didn't like the name. We're gonna keep the name for now. But yeah, this is the second episode. We're gonna start off talking about regional banks, FRC, and a couple other regional banks had their earnings calls last week. What do you guys think about the direction of regional banks going forward?
We did see a beat last week on a few regional banks. The one I was watching last week was WAL, and they did beat. I'm getting a little bit more optimistic on FRC, but I was surprised that the reaction from FRC, the sympathy wasn't as big. And I expected it to be a little bit, bigger because of how how extensive these moves are on FRC and how volatile that stock is. So earnings are coming out Monday, so I'm definitely watching see either way how it goes, and I think there's going to be a substantial move to either side.
Yeah, I agree with Pierce. I think the one thing about banks, regional banks beating their earnings is that they weren't really expected to do all that good in the future. And I think also something to keep in mind when investing into regional banks is that right now, when they're getting deposits and paying interest at a higher rate than most of their like investments in a sense. Like they're technically losing money. So I think it's you have to be careful when you're investing into regional banks. However, I do think that the earnings will be around expected for FRC.
Would any of you guys actually buy FRC?
I'm more at this point, I would trade it more than buy it. I think earnings are, if you're looking to go into the options market, the implied volatility is so crazy right now that purchasing either side is going to be very expensive. So I think it's a better play to wait it out till after earnings and then see from there to see if it really survives or if there's a further problem. I'm kind of on the sidelines right now.
Yeah, I'm with Pierce. I think there's just too much uncertainty, too much in the options, too much implied volatility. It's too expensive for me to get into it.
Yeah, I think you guys are right. Going to the next topic. Uh, Tesla, I think it was last week, had their earnings call. They did okay. Their stock did drop a little bit. Going forward, what do you guys think are going to be key to making a successful EV company?
Making Tesla a successful or just an EV company as
EVs in general.
that's a good topic to kind of go upon. I think EVs in general to be successful, you have to have infrastructure. I mean, I think the thing behind Tesla is that the infrastructure that they built, which I mean by that charging stations, you'll see all the Tesla charging stations around and fast charging, as well as EVs as a whole. They all need to have, the basis behind it is charging. But I think another thing behind Tesla's valuation is, of course, their technology. I think you have to have superior technology. And the reason Tesla's valued so high is because they started so early. And as a result, their technology is substantially better than their competitors. So it's just so hard to compete with a company like Tesla. Whereas, a younger company like Rivian, they have the technology in terms of, and they have the aesthetic, but they don't really have the infrastructure and they don't really have all that stuff yet. And they're still building up. So I think to really have a successful EV company in total, you really have to have infrastructure behind it. There's a lot of factors that play into it.
Yeah, I really like the Rivian comparison. I think affordability is another huge factor for going forward. If you're going to be selling these to the average American doesn't have $150,000 to drop on an electric truck, right? Like I think that there needs to be almost like the Honda Accord of electric cars. And I think Tesla lowering prices is trying to get there. But I think like if I were to start an EV company, I would just mass produce a cheap EV that like the average person could afford, as well as everything else Pierce said.
I think that you guys are right. I think affordability is a really big piece, and infrastructure will come along over the next couple of years. I think California is going to be one of the first, if that's public infrastructure, meaning like there's going to be public charging stations, which uh we have in Burlingame. What are you guys' market predictions for this week?
Any big moves?
I mean, to be honest, I'm expecting low volatility this week. I think last week we said bearish a little bit. I think the market was unchanged. It didn't really move much. I expect bearish or flatline. I don't see the market going green this week.
I think we should see a lot of company earnings this week, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. I mean, of course, FRC is reporting. A bunch of bigger companies are reporting throughout the week, so it'll be interesting to see where those companies end up on in terms of beating or missing earnings. But I think banks are once again in my watch list for what will happen if FRC. That's the main company I'm watching on the 24th. They release, which is Monday. So that'll be very interesting to watch.
So I have a confession to make. I bought 2 shares of FRC last week because I think their earnings are going to be good. I want to make money. I am very bullish towards FRC. I don't know. It's not an intelligent investor move, but I like FRC and I think they're going to do well. They have like a
Bro, I like
one
that. Spicing
price
it
to
up, you know?
earnings.
As long as they don't, well, they definitely have withdrawals, but it depends on how many people withdraw. If it's a problem, then I don't think it's going to go out much. There's a lot of money that I've been seeing going through hundreds of thousands of dollars through both sides of the option chain. So that's kind of what I've been watching, but I'm gonna have to disagree with you here. I was pretty bullish on FRC originally, but I think it's mostly their earnings after WAL. The fact that they didn't get the sympathy that I thought they were going to get from that move made me a little bearish, because maybe a little skeptical on kind of what is going on under the cover and why it didn't really experience the move that WAL and other stocks, Pac West in that area, received after that beat. So I don't know.
I think it's a good point. I think it's something to think about.
Yeah.
It's still pretty risky. Benjamin
Are
Graham
you
wouldn't like it, but
are you holding that long term, or you're just like a short little move? What are your plans for it? The 2 shares.
so I could either lose a lot. I could either lose $14, $17, and then I sober, or I could just hold it and it could go up. Maybe it gets to like $30, $50. I can sell. I haven't really looked at their 10Ks or at their financials at all. I don't know if it's a good stock. I kind of just felt like buying it because Isaac was talking to me about it. He said he was holding it, so then I was like, I should hold it too.
I think something to keep in mind long term is that they did get I think they got 30 billion from Chase and some other big banks, right? I think, well, something to keep in mind is the interest rates right now are not in their favor. I think you should hold it for the move since you already got it, but I don't know if I would want to hold on to that too long. I think you got to be cautious with their earnings coming up, because now they're going to be essentially paying money. I don't think their revenue is going to be all that good in the next quarters because of the 30 billion.
My prediction is probably negative EPS. I think that's kind of what's priced in right now. Or I don't think they're gonna be profitable for the next few quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah, price to earnings right now is based upon the last quarter. So I was like looking on that and I was like, it looks good. Like it's the same thing with the dividend. If you might Google it right now and it might say like a 97% dividend, but they cut the dividend. There's no more dividend for FRC.
For a while. For a while.
I don't think they're gonna implement.
Hey, it'll be interesting. I guess we can talk about it next time. You can let us know your thoughts on it, your thought process when you watch the earnings, you know?
Yeah, we'll see the live reaction.
So I'm still a holder of Electronic Arts. I have a 15% return on my share of EA, and they have a game coming out this week, which I'm actually excited for, and I'm probably gonna buy. It's a Star Wars game, and it looks good. I think it's gonna get a significant amount of sales. I don't know how much they made from the first iteration of this game, but I think their stock is gonna go up this week too.
It'll be interesting. Yeah. What do you know? What the prediction for the like? It's probably how many copies it sold last time. You think?
I forgot how many they sold. I think it was like 14 million copies or something.
8 million. That's a lot of copies.
There's no way. There's no way it was 14 million. There was no way.
So either way, it's probably if it's even near like a million, it is really good. And the EA does have the best, probably one of the best producing in terms of in-app purchases or in-game purchases as well. I mean, I believe they own FIFA and they own Madden. I'm not 100% sure on those two, but
I know, yeah, they have FIFA.
Those two are money producing machines.
Yeah, when I did my Substack on EA, I went through all of this. Microtransactions are getting 3 billion a year. They have they're basically a monopoly except for NBA 2K on the sports gaming industry. Uh, Now they have Apex, they have Battlefield. They're very diversified gaming wise for their products, and they're just a good business overall. But
I think that's a smart buy. Better than FRC, I'd say.
Yeah.
I like that pick actually.
There's an interesting, if you're looking for a dividend farm, speaking of dividends, there was this company I was looking at as well that was Zim Shipping. They paid their dividend a little bit while ago, but they were paying like some crazy $6 dividend 1 quarter, and it was a $24 stock.
Oh, I think I saw that.
Yeah, it was all over the news, but
what was it called?
it's Zim. ZIM is the ticker. It's a shipping company, and they have a pretty substantial dividend. But the problem with that is of course that industry is not necessarily growing right now. And the growth isn't there. They have the revenue, they have the earnings, but it's a matter of whether we'll be able to keep that long term. So it's a couple interesting dividend. I think EA also has a dividend, so with all those.
They're stuck 63% down in the past year. I'm not very confident.
Well, that's what happens when you pay like $6 dividends on $20 stock.
It was pretty crazy. I was like, I thought I misread a news article. I was like, what?
They probably got a parabolic downturn on their earnings in the past year.
They did.
So another site I was looking at was Shopify because I've heard a lot of talk and people were like optimistic towards Shopify and like it has a decent business. People like drop shipping. I I'm writing a Substack about drop shipping. I don't like drop shipping. I don't like day trading. It's all going to be in one Substack. That is to come. But I did do an analysis of Shopify, and they're not profitable. Most of the things about Shopify as a business is good. They're different. They have good users. Their overall business is good, but they're just not profitable. And that was my consensus. Is like they have a good business, but until that they show that they're capable of being profitable, I'm not going to buy Shopify.
Would you like say like a short there, or you just think it's kind of a neutral stock?
It's a neutral stock. I mean, it's a neutral stock. I don't see it moving much and thanks, Siri. I don't see them being moving at all. I don't think they have a very heavy IV in the options market. They're kind of stagnant.
Yeah.
Shopify, yeah. Used to be that was one of the big pandemic stocks. So during
It
the
was.
pandemic, drop shipping went crazy. So they had that massive growth. I mean, huge growth on Shopify. I think it had $100 billion market cap at one point.
Yeah, but I think it lost almost all of it, right? Or at least a good chunk of it.
Where are
Yeah,
they at now?
beating earnings like crazy. So I'm not
Their
really
market cap right now is 62 billion.
62. That's still pretty substantial for I mean, it's bigger. Its competitors probably trade at a very low multiple compared to that. I mean, Wix and all those other website builders, they're not the same. Of course, Shopify is more targeted towards drop shipping, but they do trade at a pretty substantially lower multiple than Shopify. So I don't know.
I mean,
I can look at the website. So
who are their comps? You have Wix, Squarespace market cap is 4 billion.
they went public. They didn't do. I thought they didn't do too well after their IPO.
Yeah. I mean, like Shopify has so many different features, and it's probably the best platform to use, other than like I guess you could use what's it called Etsy. You could use Etsy, but Shopify is the easiest to use, and it's the best.
Etsy, they're an interesting business. We'll break them down another time, I feel like, but for right now, I'm kind of neutral on Etsy.
What else you guys want to talk about?
Any other companies that that
This week, let's see earnings. I should have an earnings like sheet up.
they have a lot of online. If you just look up earnings for this week, they'll have like a bunch of companies that release. I was looking at Novo earlier.
Do you guys remember how Blackstone did this week? I remember they released earnings.
I do not.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I
So
can check.
Tuesday is Alphabet,
That'll be
Microsoft,
interesting. That Alphabet will be it. That's an earnings that I'm watching for sure.
and we
Just
have
based
Meta
on
on Wednesday. It's gonna be a big week for tech. I'm
Meta's
gonna
had
take back what I
some.
said earlier.
yeah, this week is going to be a big week for all of the mega cap stocks in terms of we could kind of see the direction where we're headed. I think it's going to be bearish.
I'm bearish as well.
I,
If it was much implied volatility, I'd buy some options, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm trying to catch like a 10% move to break even. I'm not really a fan of that.
yeah, I mean, earnings options usually are not a great move because you're not really favored in that move because you have to beat the implied volatility and you have to predict the right way it's going to go. So it's very difficult to win in earnings.
Yeah, I mean, I used to use this option strategy where essentially like I would I would like buy high and I wouldn't buy high and low. I would buy like a call and puts, and I essentially just make money on selling volatility. So as long as the stock moved a certain amount, I would make money. And I was a big fan of that strategy. I kind of stopped doing it because school took over. But I think earnings season, it's a good play. I could get into that more next week if we want to talk about that.
Yeah, that'll be a good topic for next week.
Yeah, but Alphabet and Microsoft on the same day. We had the AI race talk last week. And I was coming up this week. We should have had it this week. This would have been a great week to talk about.
Would have gone together.
Yeah. What do you guys think earnings is gonna be like for Alphabet? Are they gonna beat?
I mean, honestly, I have no idea. I don't want to talk on something I don't know. I think that's arrogant and that can lose people money. So I won't. I have no comment on that.
Oh, we are not financial advisors.
Yeah, none
Yeah,
of us.
I need to.
It's a fun talk. None of us
We're
are certified or anything. We're just having a good talk.
yeah.
But I think Alphabet from what I've looked at, yeah, I'm in a similar role. I haven't really studied it too much, but as long as I know, there's not people. ChatGPT is not a company that's producing, or Microsoft who owns ChatGPT right now. It's not really as profitable, I would say, as the Alphabet search engine. So I don't think Google's going to really be that impacted by ChatGPT just yet. But I think where, as companies, all companies have this, where it matters is their projection. So it's interesting. We'll see what they see in the next year and in the next few quarters. So we'll see if that guidance is going to really impact that stock more than anything. And people, I feel like right now about Alphabet are really uncertain because I think Samsung is not. They're adopting Bing now. I read that one somewhere, and I mean, Alphabet's in a tough position, so I think investors are awaiting guidance in order to make their decision.
If OpenAI can monetize ChatGPT like Alphabet can monetize SEO, that's gonna be crazy. That's gonna make so much money. Because if you can monetize pulling data, if you can, I don't even know if you could do this. If you could like curate the data a large language model pulls and then pay someone when someone like asks a question. If you ask a question about like the best apples in your area, I don't know, and ChatGPT has to look for information and you can monetize that looking for information part for like sellers, I think that can make you a lot of money.
I agree.
I think it'll make a lot of money, but personally, I'm not really a fan of that. I feel like that's kind of the same problem. Or I guess Google makes quite a bit of money off of, having people placed higher on the list. But as just an individual, I don't like that. That's something that can happen. I feel like it's kind of inauthentic.
I think I agree with that, but I do think like that is so difficult to do because we're in a situation now where there's not just one player. there's going to be so many players in this AI race, and I think the winner will be the person. In order to win, you have to be able to afford losing, if that makes sense. So you have to be able to like ChatGPT lose a bunch of money for a pretty substantial amount of time before the company becomes profitable or the AI bot becomes profitable. I think there's a long road to go to profitability, and I think the companies that are really going to do the best are the companies that are able to spend the most on their AI and really perfect it, because it's just so hard to monetize it. Like you can't just look something up like, oh, like it's not like Google search engine when you look something up and then it pops up all these ads before. It pops up one result, and that result is it's in many ways dangerous to make it so that it's curated. So I think it's really important that we kind of wait for the process to kind of make it so that there's a way to monetize it rather than forcing it on the user without them knowing in a way, or just in any way.
I think AI race wise, I think there is a for winning the AI race. I think there is a capital piece, but it's the same thing. I think it's similar, not the same thing, but it's similar to the way social media developed, where it's not necessarily who makes the most money, but it's who does it the best. Because the way Facebook succeeded, it didn't. It's not because it made the most money. It was just like the coolest thing to have. And I think that will be similar to the way that whoever can integrate AI to the best and has the best AI, not necessarily the most like monetized AI, will succeed. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what the only thing I heard about right now monetization wise is ChatGPT's adding like that plus or whatever it is, ChatGPT plus or whatever it's called, which is like the advanced, like quicker or something, ChatGPT, which I think is actually a good way to monetize things. But if there's any other strategies that you can think of right now to monetize it, I think that'll be a pretty interesting conversation.
I think an idea I had was like, um, if you can get contracts with businesses to use ChatGPT on a mass scale, it's gonna make it will do well. Because if you make AI integral to the function of a business and you are the supplier of that AI,
Yeah. Are you saying like if I had a business, I could say like, oh, where's the nearest like Pierce buffet or something, or nearest buffet? If you say where's the nearest buffet, like will it show up? Oh, the nearest buffet is Pierce's buffet or something. If I pay for that versus something else, or what do you mean by that?
so something like so it could be SEO like that, or it could just be an analytical thing where I need to process a large amount of data, or I need insights about this data right now. And if my function for doing that is running it through ChatGPT, that's what I mean. Um, Other operations that would be more efficient or easier to do with AI, and ChatGPT is that AI. OpenAI could make a lot of money. That's just business to business. I mean, there's so many different consumer strategies you could use, which are already doing with subscriptions, which I don't know like what the features are of subscriptions. Yeah, but it could be very profitable in the future. Alex, you have anything to say?
No, I think what you were saying about ChatGPT, I was just thinking about that. Kind of sounds similar to what Pierce was saying about ChatGPT plus, like a little extra benefits, quicker, like it gets more information. I feel like for companies, yeah, I could see that working and making quite a bit of money. I like that idea, yeah.
I think the most profitable aspect of ChatGPT though is if you make it so that it cannot be detected by schools.
Oh yeah, bro. Kids would pay so much money
Yeah.
Good.
to just not write essays.
Imagine if like Grammarly, because like Notion, I use Notion, and I think Google at some point will have Lambda do the automating text thing. If you could have if you could have a startup that automates essays, dude,
I mean, there's a lot, but the problem is now they're detected. So like
Yeah.
now detected AI
in
wise.
a way that like like not adapt. You know what I mean? That like
Yeah, but I mean, you can have like an
like,
adaptive AI that like fills in phrases or like reword stuff that sounds better, and it's not necessarily done by an AI. So I don't know if they get caught by plagiarism checks, but yeah, that would be nice. I would love that.
I saw 2 Harvard students are now working on that. Like, there's a few Harvard students. There's a Princeton student that made it one that detects AI, and then now there's Harvard students that are making one that like makes it so you can't tell at all. So it'll be interesting with what the coming years have.
the AI wars,
AI
every
will
facet.
exactly.
But do you guys like in the next 10 years, how much do you think that large language models will be implemented into the startup world? Like, do you think the most popular type of startup is going to be something that has a large language model implemented in it?
I
I
think,
mean,
yeah, go first.
no, you can go, Pierce. You go.
Sure. Okay. So my thoughts on this is I think kind of what I said before, where in terms of implementing like AI, I think all startups will have some sort of implementation of AI, like an AI assistant or something like that that could do basic things that maybe are a little replaceable by a human. But I think in terms of if a startup wants to create their own AI, I think that's super difficult to do. Like I don't think startups that revolve around AI are going to be that successful just because you have to have so much money to get into it because it's such a money losing business to start off. It burns so much capital that you have to have so much investor capital or you have to already be established in order to succeed.
But I think that you bring up a good opportunity with the paid part is if someone not necessarily makes it free, but a more open and use like accessible AI that businesses can use and can monetize that in a way that doesn't lose its entry access point. I don't know if that's the right word to use. You know what I mean? That can make a lot of money if they monetize it right. But with that, we have less than a minute left because we have the free Zoom. That concludes second episode. So if you made it this far, I don't think anybody's gonna make it this far. Thank you for listening.